But I don't think that, you know, I was happy with where our two leaders left us when they left the debate. Both of them said that this is about Kenya. And really, you could see the emotions that I am doing this for Kenya. I'm not running to win for me.
Okay.
I am running to do something about Kenya. So those debates are very welcome.
Right.
Whether we cure it using up, and avoid trickle down, or we cure it using the ghost of BBI, but it's a welcome debate.
It has to be cured. Again, as we're having this debate, we do have cameras inside the tallying center, so you're not missing anything. As Dr. Joang has correctly mentioned a few minutes ago, there's drama all over, drama inside the tallying center, and drama outside the tallying center,
and in the
next
booth, yeah,
to the NTV booth, if you like. But we'd like to keep on reassuring our audiences and Kenyans at large that the process is going on and must go on. The returning officers, if they've not arrived, they're arriving. They're going through the verification process, both qualitative and quantitative. They're looking at the forms to see those are the forms that were uploaded on that public portal with the security features that they have. And then they will look at the numbers that they've come up with, see that it tallies Form 34A and Form 34B. Again, I will not attempt to say this word, constitutionalism. But it is what it is. We're learning, Raphael. I hope you do not bring up such words. But here we go. The question of why half of whatever happens with this process, we have not amended the constitution yet. There's going to be a loser, half of the country, whatever the numbers, right? What do we do with that?
I think we must constantly find a way of ensuring that everyone belongs and that we include everyone. And that's why whether we are going to do it through some legal framework, which is the constitution, like has been suggested over the years, or whether we are going to have leaders who are progressive enough to learn that those who win must carry along those who perhaps didn't even vote for them. I think it's really something that we need to have a conversation about. And yes, it can be through the constitution, it can be through political leadership. But just going back, James, you asked about why are people passionate about voting. And first, I want to disagree with people who normally say that elections come and go. So you vote and then wait for the next 5 years. That is not true, because elections, first of all, elections provides us with a mechanism for peaceful and democratic rotation of leadership. So peaceful is very important, because if we do not have election, then change of leadership can be very chaotic. So that's why we need to take election very seriously. Two, election is not just another process. It's not just another event. And you've heard people saying, voters have done their work, they should now go back and continue with their business. No.
Are you suggesting that all of us should come, all 14 million of us should come to Bomas?
And people have said that. People have said that I want to guard my vote. James, why? Because people have voted in the past, but their vote didn't mean anything. So people are saying, look, I want to make sure that my vote means something. If I vote for A, I want to make sure that my vote is not given to B, C, or D. I want to make sure it is given to A. Where I was born and brought up in Korogosho, I used to see that after people voting, when the ballot boxes were being taken to the tallying center, they didn't leave it to IBC or ECK that time. They didn't leave it to a few individuals. They would escort those ballot boxes to the tallying center. They would stay outside there until the counting is done. Why did they do that? Because they wanted their votes to mean something. So when, and that's where I disagree a little bit with Daktari when he says people, people shouldn't shout, or if you see something going wrong, if you see something that is not right, people have a right and a responsibility to say something and to do something, because they want, we come from a history where your vote didn't mean anything. Now we want to ensure that moving forward, and that's the future that we want, that your vote means something. If I vote for A, let it be for A.
Here's the thing.
Let it not be changed. Yeah. Remember, IBC does not vote. While they have the mandate as stipulated in the Constitution, chapter 14 and of course 15, the vote belongs to the people. And so while they have, we've tasked the IBC with the mandate of facilitating election, we still have to be vigilant. We need to hold them accountable and ensure that nothing goes wrong in between where we have voted and where the votes are being counted, being tallied, and being verified.
Very well said, Raphael. But we've seen throughout the last 4 days or 5 days, there's no politician, very few, who have lost this and say it was nice, well and good. There's always, something happened, you know. Some polling stations, they did not submit the results correctly, you know. And these sort of remarks, you know, with all well intentions, they don't help us to make sure this democracy is perfect, right? Because we're sort of projecting the idea that it's impossible for your candidate to lose, right? That I voted for Governor X, and it's possible for them to lose, right? And it's fine and accepting that when that happens, the elections might have a bit of problems here and there, but by and large, it was good. Yeah. We don't seem to speak about that a bit more.
Yeah, I think, I don't know why the rest of the panelists are not saying this.
Please say it.
In this country,
this is why I came to you.
We have made politics very lucrative. It's a business in this country. Ask any young person outside there, why would they want to get into politics? It is the tokens that come with politics. The political class have then gone ahead and given birth to now another class of people called tenderpreneurs. So you see, it's a whole chain, a value chain where only a few people benefit from it, instead of the whole population benefiting from what government has to offer. You see, governments are by and large the biggest service producers and the biggest good consumers of goods. So when people are in power, then they can share positions as they want. We've had these discussions where people have even given themselves positions already. Like we know, if this Mrengo takes power, then this is how positions will be dished out. And this has even been told on TV by both sides of the political divides, that if we win, so-and-so will be minister for this, so-and-so will be this. We need to make politics as unlucrative as possible in this country.
How do we do that?
First of all, let us cut salaries of politicians. The wage bill that parliament consumes in this country, it's massive. And I loved what the Salaries Remuneration Commission was doing the other day. Why do we have to pay parliamentarians sitting allowance? We should cut that to articulate issues of Kenyans. Let us do away with that. Why do we give them car grants instead of car loans? Why do we have a politician being protected that much? If the people voted for you, why do you need that much protection? If the people are the ones who actually gave you that responsibility of articulating their issues. So let us make politics unlucrative, so that when in other places in the world, people don't get into politics to get rich. They get there so that they can articulate issues. And maybe to give this example, while Obama was leaving office, we can fact check this. He was worth only 1 billion Kenyan shillings. Very small amount when it comes to US dollars. An MP for 5 years in this country translates into a billionaire after the 5 years. You can see even the tokens that they are given now when they want to exit office. So we make politics, we need to demystify politics in this country. And for once, we need to start having politicians going into the business of politics and not businessmen going into politics.
James, you asked about the concessions. I just wanted to emphasize something. If you look at where we are coming from and you look at this particular election, of course now the focus is largely at Bomas, is largely on presidential election.
Raphael, I have to interrupt you because there's a briefing inside the tallying hall. I would have a listen. Is inside the auditorium at the Bomas of Kenya, the National Tallying Center. Our very own Motereri is inside, and you know, in that melee, he's trying to find information of what's happening. Earlier on, you saw some chaotic scenes inside that. You know, the tallying center. We do have information that Raila Odinga's chief agent, Site Taboa Ole Kanchori, was alleging that there was a crime at the Bomas of Kenya, and he was, in fact, you know, stopped from accessing, you know, some of the returning officers. So yes, live scenes happening there. We'll get more details for you there on what has happened, what's happening. We know the commissioners, as you can see from your pictures, are trying to move to make some sort of statement. Once they do that, we'll bring that live to you right here. But back to my panel, as we wait for that. Raphael, you're making a very important point before I interrupted you.
Yeah, I was just saying, James, that we've made remarkable progress towards strengthening our electoral process, making sure it's more transparent, making sure it's more accountable. And that's why, if you look at these particular elections, before we've seen a lot of violence, people disagreeing with the results of course, at various levels, MCAs, members of parliament, and those other seats. But if you look at this time and you compare it to the previous elections, you'll realize that people are coming forward and saying, look, I concede. Look, I might have lost, but it's not because of the process. Perhaps it's because of I didn't organize myself very, very, very well. And people...
Or the voters just refused you.
Or the voters
just refused you. Consider and say the voters just refused you.
Yes, and there are many cases. We saw in Langata, which was really, really a hotly contested parliamentary seat, where Korir came out and said, look, I think I lost. Yeah. We've seen in other places where people are saying, I think I lost, or I think of course, there are areas where people are still saying, I think I didn't lose fairly. But they are fewer compared to what we've seen in the past. They are less chaotic compared to what we've seen in the past. And so, in my view, while we are moving towards perfection, we are not there yet. And that's why we need to keep pushing for a more transparent, a more accountable, a more open, a more free and fair election.
Is this too much freedom that we have? And just to answer this question also, why we have allowed our the political class to take the country hostage, and we don't know how to unshackle ourselves from it. Why do we allow, for instance, members of parliament to be paid pension on something they've not paid to? Pension, everyone pays pension because they pay that money. But members of parliament, as long as they get elected, they get a pension. Why have we allowed the political class to take hostage of this country, Prof?
Well, 2010 Constitution was intended to address all these issues, so that what then you would have three key areas in terms of the political process being more accountable to and serving the public interest. According to what Max Weber wrote a very powerful article called Politics as a Vocation. Politics as a vocation, Max Weber, meaning that, you know, when you join politics not to serve the private interest, the self-interest. You join politics like the priests of old, like the academics of old, because I'm saying of old because not all of us joined this to serve. The priests of old, the lawyers of old, you joined these professions, these occupations, because you are motivated to serve the public interest. Therefore, it was politics as a vocation. But then what we now have had is that it has been the problem of the non-implementation of the 2010 Constitution in very material areas. And many of us will always go back, and we want to relate this to elections. We will always go back and say, Dr. Willie Mutunga, what did you do to Kenya in 2013? Why didn't you help implement the Constitution on the core question of electoral accountability of IBC, etc., etc.? And that would have been a big game changer. And we would have started from implementing the Constitution and electoral matters from 2010. And then because this was also, that was about the presidential election petition 2013, where he became more technical about removing, excluding the affidavit, and even on the issues of leadership and integrity. Because one of the greatest problems where you would say that sometimes you feel that the politicians, some politicians are holding the country hostage, is partly because of three main areas. Number one, qualifications to run. Number one is qualifications to run. Number two is that the issue of CDF. Yes. Number three is the issue of remuneration that they are given, including pension. Briefly, what does that mean? In terms of qualifications, 2013 was a watershed election. And had the CJ led in this process leadership and integrity and qualification to run from 2013, we would have been helped quite a lot. And that's why in the 2017 elections, we had a case which was brought by TISA, the Institute for Social Accountability, whereby they were saying, they earmarked about 20 politicians whom they said, you know, you have serious leadership and integrity issues, and therefore you ought not to run. But then those politicians just said, but what did you do in 2013? If 2013 you were not, and then they passed through. 2022, we have had cases, including one person who belongs to one political formation,
right,
who seems to have a degree from a university, claimed to have had a degree from the University of Nairobi, and they were not there. Then it seems to have had a degree from Teams, I think Microsoft Teams, etc. So this is the problem we have had. So it's like an entitlement,
okay,
that qualification don't matter. Secondly, CDF, I'm happy the Supreme Court, but even in qualifications, I'm glad the Supreme Court gave us the Sonko decision, which is a powerful decision.
All right.
That leadership and integrity matters. Two, on issues of CDF, we have been told, because that has been a major attraction to join politics,
yes,
to get the money. Supreme Court has given us another powerful decision, which we hope will be implemented, and that the MPs will not try to manipulate or intimidate the executive to get any other,
to get away around it.
Lastly,
I need to go inside.
Lastly, one issue before you go. In many countries, you are paid on the basis of your qualifications, whichever public job you do, on the basis of your job description, what you do, and on the basis of your performance. So you can't come from the academy or from the media to join politics because you want to earn more. They will check what are your qualifications, what is your job description, and how do you perform. Okay.
You're watching Decision 2022, and here on this panel I do have Professor Ben Sihanya, I do have Dr. Juang, I also do have Rafael Lobono and David from ICJ. We have covering for you wall-to-wall what's happening inside and outside. As you have seen, there's a lot to cover. My colleague Motireri is inside the Tarling Center. He has been following and trying to pick up the issues so that we can inform you correctly on what's happening inside. I'd now leave you with him to tell you what's happening before we go on a very short break. Then we come back to my panel after you're well informed. You're watching Decision 2022 at NTV. Motireri, please.
All right. I hear you loud and clear, my good friend Okari. Now, we've been trying to gather information as to what transpired. A few minutes ago, you saw the commotion that was happening here at the Nav Center of IBC's National Tarling Center here at the Bomas. And the information that we have from the Azimio side, they are claiming one, let me get his name right. They are claiming, these are just claims, they're saying one director of voter registration and electoral operations at the IBC, Moses Unkuli, is not at the IBC's Tarling Center, and they have been demanding for his presence here. They're claiming that he is with one of UDA's or Kenya Kwanza officers, claiming one Davis Chirchir. They are claiming that Moses Unkuli is not here at the Tarling Center, and he is with some of Kenya Kwanza leaders. These are just claims, we have not established their legitimacy. However, that is their claim, and that's why they're stopping everything that is happening here. They're stopping the tallying of the let me just put it in Kiswahili, kule kuthibitishwa kwa kura. Wamesimamisha kila kitu, wanasema kwamba hadi huyo afisa Moses Sunkuli ajitokeze hapa ndani aweze kuelezea kinagaubaga, sababu wanadai kwamba hayupo hapa na anastahili kuwa hapa, na ndiposa wanasimamisha kila kitu, kila shughuli ambayo iko hapa, wakisema lazima ajitokeze. Wanasema kwamba Moses Sunkuli ambaye ni mkurugenzi wa masuala ya uandikishaji wa kura hayuko hapa, wakisema usiku wa leo. Ni taarifa ambayo tumepata kutoka kwa Rachel Shebesh, unamjua yule Rachel Shebesh, akisema kwamba ni taarifa ambayo amepata mwendo wa saa 5 kwamba huyo jamaa wa IBC hayuko hapa, madai tu ambayo wanasema hayajathibitishwa. Kwa hivyo hatuwezi sema kwa ukweli ni kwamba hayupo hapa. Tunasubiri IBC tuelezee kama ni ukweli kinagaubaga yuko hapa. Wale Azimio wakidai kwamba taarifa ambazo wako nazo ni kwamba Moses Sunkuli hayupo na anastahili kuwa hapa. Ni taarifa ambao wao wenyewe wanatoa, madai ambao wao wenyewe wanasema. Kwa hivyo tunasubiria IBC